I discovered my husband married me to obsess over my sister-in-law. Now I'm divorcing him and terrified for her. It blew up at dinner. He grabbed her wrist. She yanked free. My stomach dropped, right? Okay, so picture this. We were celebrating her birthday. He got sloppy drunk. Then he blurted it out. He loves her. He hates my brother. And here's where it gets worse. He leaned in to kiss her while I watched, and my brother shoved him back. The neighbor heard shouting in the hallway and later repeated the words. My hands went cold. The call log on his phone showed 72 late-night messages to her. The timestamp showed 2 a.m. By the next afternoon, I confronted him in our kitchen. He stared at the floor. I asked, "Why would you do this?" He rubbed his temples. I pressed again, voice tight. He finally croaked. He married me to stay close to her. My jaw locked. He begged, promised therapy, promised change, promised anything. I couldn't breathe. Literally couldn't get air. I pulled out my laptop and opened our phone records. I scrolled through 4 months. There they were. Messages 3 times weekly. Always after midnight. Draft emails to her saved, unsent, going back since September. Flowers delivered to her office 8 times this year. At this point, I'm done. The therapist leaned in, her tone steady. One more boundary breach could become violence. My chest tightened. She warned that fixation escalates when access gets blocked. She called it grievance fuel. She said, if he feels entitled, he'll test lines until someone stops him. I tried the police. The officer shrugged, arms crossed. Without a restraining order or explicit threat, he called it a family dispute. He suggested a cooling-off period. I just stood there, thinking. You know that feeling when the ground disappears under you? If the system won't help, what now? I packed a bag and left the house. I grabbed my passport. I changed my passwords. I moved money into a separate account. My legs wouldn't stop shaking now. I know what you're thinking. Why not let him fix it with counseling? 3 weeks. That's all it took to realize this wasn't a slip. This was a pattern with a plan. I met my brother at a diner. I slid into the booth, throat raw. He watched the door. I placed the printouts on the table. He skimmed the numbers, face going flat. He tapped the dates once, then twice. He asked if I was safe. I nodded, barely. He pushed the pages back to me. His voice went low. You can't go home. I know, I answered. He clenched his fists, then exhaled slowly. Part of me wanted to scream at everyone. Part of me needed a step-by-step plan. I unlocked a storage unit. I hauled boxes into the hallway. One had our wedding album. Another held old letters. I stacked them by the door. The clerk watched me from behind the counter. He slid me a new lock and asked if I needed help. I waved him off and kept moving. The adrenaline kept my hands busy. The silence made my ears ring. I took the spare key and tucked it under my shoe insole. My phone buzzed. 3 messages from him. Sorry. I love you. Please come home. Then a follow-up. We can be a family. The last one threw me. He mentioned her name again, calling it a mistake, calling his love a phase. My stomach twisted. I called my sister-in-law. Her voice was thin. She asked if it was safe to talk. I checked the lot. I told her about the call logs, the flowers, the draft emails. She went quiet, then very soft. I heard. I never replied. I believe you. She swallowed hard. You need a lawyer. So I'm like, where do I start? And she goes, I'll give you mine. We met that lawyer the next morning. I signed an engagement letter with a pen that felt too heavy. The paralegal gathered the records into a neat stack. The attorney opened a legal pad. She explained temporary orders. She explained protective orders. She explained how to serve papers discreetly. I nodded. Hands cold again. The attorney's voice turned direct. If he's been tracking her, we file today. If he contacts her again, we extend. If he shows up at your place, you call 911. Clear. Specific. Actionable. My shoulders dropped an inch. I headed to my brother's place. I carried my bag inside. I placed my phone on the counter. He poured coffee. The mug rattled against the saucer. He asked what I needed. I answered, I need you close. He put his hand on the counter, knuckles white, and said, then we plan. Part of me wanted to crawl into bed for a week. Part of me mapped exit routes from every room. I reviewed my husband's cloud backups. I opened notes. I scanned a folder named Projects. I clicked an entry titled Fixing It. Inside, bullet points about her routines, when she runs, when she works, a line about waiting for her in the parking garage. I felt heat rise in my chest. I printed the page and slid it into a manila folder. I called the therapist back. I read the details. Her voice went sharp. He's fantasizing about opportunities. She paused. You need to warn her employer. I wrote it down, she added. Keep a log. Dates, times, contacts, every incident. I drove to my sister-in-law's office. I parked near the lobby and walked straight to security. I showed them the folder. The guard's hands shook as he dialed the building manager. A conference room opened. The manager leaned over the table. He listened without blinking. I watched him pick up a phone and say, we're updating her access. Today. They reissued her badge, changed her garage spot, and flagged his photo at the desk. The manager printed an alert sheet and handed copies to security. He looked at me like this was routine. His voice stayed calm. We see this more than you think. My hands went colder. I forwarded everything to my lawyer and asked for emergency orders. She called the courthouse clerk while I listened. Then she laid it out. The plan was simple. File, serve, document, repeat. She clicked her pen. Can you stay with family tonight? I nodded. Yes, my brother. She lowered her voice. You need an advocate with you. I pulled out my list. I have him and his wife. Her eyes softened. Good, we file now. By afternoon, a process server took the packet and headed for my house. I waited at my brother's kitchen table, leg bouncing. The server finally called. Served at the door, he blew up. I gripped the phone. Define blew up, breath over the line, shouting, accusing. He threw the papers. Did he threaten her or me? A pause then. He yelled he deserves closure. He mentioned her garage. My brother was already dialing the attorney while I wrote it all down. We submitted the violation affidavit and attached the call summary. 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang at my brother's place. A florist stood there with lilies and a note addressed to her. The envelope was already open. The card read, I am sorry, we were destined. My brother took a breath. Call non-emergency right now. I dialed. I need help tracking a violation. The dispatcher sounded careful. Keep the card. Officers are en route. 2 officers arrived, listened, and wrote the report. 1 officer met my eyes. Flowers alone are not enough. My jaw clenched. He referenced her garage. He nodded. We will patrol tonight. After they left, I checked her car with my phone and listened for a chirp. Nothing at first. Then, faint, a ping under the bumper. My skin crawled while I reached beneath and pulled out a tracker. We placed it on the counter and stared at it. I called the officer back. We found a tracker on her car. His tone changed. Do not touch it further. It is on the counter already. He exhaled. Good, we can fingerprint it. This is criminal now. I glanced at my brother. We need to move her tonight. The officer agreed. Pack and relocate for a few days. We threw clothes into bags and powered down devices. I used a new email to message my boss about leave. My sister-in-law moved with us to a hotel near the courthouse. The desk clerk checked IDs and offered a room near the elevator. I chose a corner room and asked for 2 keys. We arranged a rota to accompany her everywhere. At midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Are you awake? I typed back. Do not contact me again. Another message arrived. I can explain everything. We belong together. I muted the thread and logged the time. From the adjoining room, my brother whispered, You okay? I answered through the wall. I am awake. I am fine. Morning brought the hearing for the temporary protective order. The judge reviewed the tracker photo and the fixing it note. She looked over the call logs and the florist receipt. Her ruling was brisk and complete. Order granted for 6 months, with stay-away zones. She signed copies and handed one to the bailiff. The judge leaned forward. Any firearms in the home? I shook my head. None that I know about. She nodded. If you find one, surrender it immediately. My brother spoke. We changed the locks yesterday. The judge made a note. Keep that document logged daily. We left the courthouse and walked into the glare of mid-morning. My chest loosened for the first time in days. By noon, his work called me about his outburst. Apparently, he stormed in late, ranted, and quit on the spot. The HR manager asked if they needed extra security. I kept my voice steady. Yes, share the order with your team, she agreed. We will alert reception and facilities. Please document any contact attempts. Understood. We will note everything. At the hotel that evening, we rotated shifts to escort her to the lobby gym. Halfway down the hall, my phone buzzed with a camera alert from my house. Someone was in the backyard near the sliding door. I tapped the feed and the image resolved into him. He paced along the fence line, phone to his ear. I handed my brother the phone. Call the officer now, he dialed. He is at her house, in the yard. Dispatch responded fast. Units are en route. Stay put. I stared at the feed. He has a spare key somewhere. My brother frowned. Not anymore. We changed everything. On camera, he crouched and tried the handle like he did not hear alarms. A patrol car turned into the driveway and he bolted. He jumped the fence and disappeared through the alley. An officer called me once they cleared the yard. She kept it blunt. We can charge him for trespass now, I swallowed. Please file it today, she confirmed. I will submit the report to the prosecutor. What about an arrest? If they approve charges, we pick him up. Sleep did not happen that night. We kept watching shifts and kept the curtains closed. At dawn, my sister-in-law reached for my hand. Her voice shook. I want to give a statement today. I nodded. We go together, right after breakfast. She wiped her face. I am done being scared of him. My brother looked at both of us. Then we move now. We drove to the station and met the detective assigned to stalking cases. She reviewed the tracker, the note, the video, and the logs. She turned to me and asked about other possible devices. I told her about the backyard trespass and the hotel move. She clicked a pen and mapped a search plan. First the apartment, then the garage, then the office. Now, I know what you're thinking. Paranoid, right? Not after a tracker. And that's when it happened. Security called while we sat there. He'd just badged into her building's lobby. The guard recognized him from the alert. They locked the stairwell doors at once. My throat tightened. We ran. The detective stood and dialed patrol. She gestured to us to stay put. We did not. We moved with her to the elevator. In the lobby, the guard pointed toward the cameras. He whispered, He is in the stairwell. The detective's voice went firm. Call units to both exits. I pressed my hands to the counter to stop the shaking. My brother angled himself between the door and us. Through the glass, we saw him. He paced, scanned, and then spotted the posted alert. He froze for a beat. And then everything changed. He yanked on the stair door and set off the alarm. Patrol flooded the sidewalk, lights bouncing on glass. An officer lifted a hand. He shouted instructions we could not hear. My sister-in-law grabbed my elbow. Her voice came small. Do not let him see me. We stepped behind a pillar and held our breath. The detective kept her eyes on him. She spoke into her radio. You have probable cause on the tracker and the order. 2 officers approached, palms open. He jerked back toward the stairs. They closed distance. He lunged for the door handle. An officer grabbed his arm and another secured the other side. He twisted, shouted my name, and went still. Cuffs went on. The detective exhaled. I realized I had not breathed in 10 seconds. She turned to us and nodded once. You are safe here. Right then, maybe. But the adrenaline still buzzed. We gave formal statements downstairs. I described the logs, the plan, the trespass. She described the wrist grab and the attempted kiss. My brother described the flowers and the tracker, the detective typed. Then looked up. Her voice stayed even. We will book him for stalking, trespass, and violation. The prosecutor will review charges today. Bail means release conditions. No contact. No devices. Stay away. We left through the employee exit. I leaned against the wall outside and tried to stop shaking. My brother watched the street. He asked what I needed next. I answered without thinking. I need to finish the divorce. He nodded once. Then we go home, grab documents, and move anything important. Part of me wanted to sleep for a week. Part of me needed momentum. We drove to my place with an escort. 2 patrol cars met us there. I unlocked the door and walked straight to the desk. I gathered tax forms, titles, and passports. My brother cleared the closet. She boxed up essentials in the bathroom. The officer checked windows and the back gate. I powered down the Wi-Fi and reset the router now. I know what you're thinking, overkill. But he had keys, habits, and history. We left within an hour. At the station, the detective texted a short update, booked. Prints taken. Phone seized. Arraignment set for morning. I sat on the hotel bed and stared at the wall. My sister-in-law sat beside me. Her voice steadied. You are not responsible for his obsession. I nodded and tried to let it land. It did not. Not yet. She tucked hair behind her ear. Do you want me at court? I want you safe. Her voice went firm. I am coming. My brother leaned on the doorframe. We go together. Okay. I breathed together. Morning came with that heavy quiet that makes you listen. Court felt cramped and watchful. He stood beside a public defender, eyes on the floor. The judge read the charges in a flat tone. Stalking, trespass, violating a protective order. The prosecutor requested high bail with strict conditions. The defender argued for release to a friend's house. The judge split the difference. Bail set with ankle monitoring. No contact. Stay away zones. He signed and stared at me for a second too long. My chest burned. We walked out together and made a new plan. The attorney moved the divorce to an expedited track. She filed for exclusive use of the house and the car. She requested temporary support and attorney's fees. I signed more forms than I thought existed. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do you sleep with him out? We layered safety. Alarms, escorts, check-ins, routines changed. He texted once, from a new number. I forwarded it, logged it, and blocked it. He tried a friend to pass a message. The friend called me at lunch, so I am like, why are you in this? He goes, he is spiraling. I kept my tone flat. Tell him to stop or go to jail. Click. Days passed full of paperwork and escorts. I started therapy 2 times a week. She taught me grounding exercises for when my heart raced. Breathe in 4, hold. Breathe out 6. My sister-in-law returned to work with security escorts. Her manager checked in morning and afternoon. She met me after for tea in plastic cups. We sat facing the entrance. We talked about normal things on purpose. Baby names, recipes, a show we both liked. Then she asked the question I dodged. Do you think he ever loved you? I stared at the table and answered with honesty. I think he loved proximity, more than me. She squeezed my hand and nodded. The divorce hearing came sooner than expected. He attended by video from his friend's place. The judge granted exclusive use of the house and the car. She issued a support order and a discovery schedule, 90 days to exchange everything. We can finalize soon. Finally. So yeah, that's my story.